All right, thank you, Marshall. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the September 19th, 2022 CALPADS office hours. My name is Paul Higgins. I'm a data analyst working at CALSAAS supporting CALPADS. And with that, I'm just going to jump into announcements. And as I get into announcements, I'm going to hop up on my soapbox and say, as the sunset for the 2021-2022 end of year approaches, you have all shown great perseverance, patience, adaptability, and you've all worked very hard. And I am very grateful for you for all of that work. We have gotten, I think, the vast majority, very high 90s at this point, of everyone certified. So thank you for everything you've done, and thank you for working with us and working around us at times. With that, last week on the 16th, CALPADS Flash 238 came out, and it is a discussion of ISAC, if that's how we're pronouncing it, ISAC. And there's some submission clarification stuff down in there. So I know in the past we've touched on this and didn't have a lot of firm answers. Now we have a flash to refer to. Also, the 2022-2023 reporting calendar is available now. It was posted, I believe, this morning. At least that's the first time I saw it. And so you have that to access, and you can see, obviously, Census Day is the 5th. Certification deadline, initial certification deadline is December 16th, with an amendment window to follow until January 20th. And then the fall one and end of year follows below that. But fall one is going to be our priority for a while. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Angela if she has anything, or Martha.
Me. Hallelujah.
Yeah. We just do a collective statewide sigh. Whew, it's over. First three questions I'm noticing are kind of Brandy related questions. So I did just shoot her a text. She has not been joining us on Mondays. Oftentimes Paula Mishima has, but I don't see her here either. So we'll keep you posted on that. I do have a list of things that are going in tomorrow. It's not as exciting as it was when we were trying to get EOI done, but if you want, I could share that, Paul.
Please. And exciting is a good word for that.
Okay, so we had a couple patches go in last week. I didn't include those. Those of you that were impacted were notified. Things like not being able to edit records for schools that had recently closed or deleting private school enrollment. Those things got patched. I believe people have been anxious for the 16.7.16.8 monitoring report. I think happy to see that that's finally getting addressed. I know people have been very patient with that one. And then also some anomaly CCEs reporting that are finally getting fixed too. I think there's still some outstanding CCE bugs as well as exit reason discrepancies, the ERDs, that we'll try to squeeze in now that we've gotten the big ticket EOI items behind us. And the last thing I wanted to mention that they're working on is the academic year rollover. It kind of snuck in a little bit last week where on the certification status screen, some of you noticed that it's now defaulting to 22-23, and you had to change it back to 21-22 if you were still working. But other areas in the system will also start to default to 22-23 as well, starting if it's in this release or possibly the next Tuesday, but either way, it's coming very soon. And that is all I had, Paul.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. If there's nothing else, I'm going to jump into Denise's question at 3:02.
Oh, can I add? I just did
Please.
hear back from Brandy. She's not available at the moment, but she said she will be in about 10 minutes. So if you wanted to skip the first three and come back when Brandy's on, that's okay. Or if you want to read them out loud now and then come back to them again.
Well, let's just save the time and we'll circle back to Denise, Mary, and Dan when Brandy joins us. So I'm not skipping your questions. I will be back to those. So moving down to Shelley at 3:03. Who is going on vacation first between all of you, and what sunny places are you going? Well, I think that we're all still prepping for fall one, so our vacations are still pending, but we'll get
I'm
there.
off Thursday, Friday.
Oh,
so
I was
guess
wrong.
it's me.
And where are you going, Alex?
Up to Lake Tahoe, Incline Village.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Terry, 3:04 Q1. When do all students need to have an SSID and CALPADS to be in the direct cert pool for the LCFF count? I believe that they need to have enrollments posted to CALPADS using a date on or before Census Day, 10/5. So even if you generated an SSID after 10/5, so long as you're using the enrollment start date of 10/5 or before, they will still be pulled into the following DC run. And as a reminder, the November DC run is included in Fall 1 because it accounts for all of October, which is also why we allow FRPM records dated on or before 10/31 to be allowed in as well. Larney 305. Since we are EOI certified, can we start sending up SPED data for 22, 23, and Fall 1? Any heads up we need to know? Yes, if you're certified and you're good to go on all of that, the known issues list is still what it is, and there are still problems out there. But we're getting better at working through with those. So please feel free to start uploading your data. Shanna at 305 Q1. When will CDDs be enabled for Fall 1 and Fall 2? Angela, do you have anything on that one?
I have it.
Martha.
I don't know exactly when, but in the latter part of October. So it won't be ready on October 5th.
So the first part of Fall 1 will be just data population, data population, data population. And the cert errors should still be running. It's just the CDDs won't be available yet. 305, Rebecca Olson, Q1. Turns out that I need to make some attendance corrections on our ISAC. Is that possible, or is the deadline passed? And up on the screen, we have flash, whatever it was, 238. And Alex highlighted the September 30th, 2022 date there. So you do still have a little bit of time. What is that, 11 days? 12 days, 11 days. Angela Mata, 306. Thank goodness for the N470 CCE patch. Agreed. Russ at 306, Q1. If our schools are on CEP, do we still need to upload data to ISAC? I don't recall seeing that in the flash. Let's see. Sorry, I'm doing a Control F here. Yeah, I'm not seeing any reference to CEP. So why don't I write you down, Russ, for a follow-up when Brandy joins us. And that was at 306. Amy at 307, how do we deal with mids we merged by mistake that are not on the same student? Amy, the bad news is that mid merges are a one-way transaction. Once they're complete, there's no undoing them. And I guess the worst news on that is that you have to rebuild the student using whatever information you can glean from their CUME file and any local records that you may have. And it generally results in a less complete longitudinal record, but it's understood that that's one of the hazards of having mid-merges out there. Kim Gavin, 308. For SPED files, I think I remember the CDDs were designed to be checked as you upload. Is that the case? Do we wait for Fall 1 to open to see them? Well, Kim, as Martha said, those won't be introduced until probably the latter part of October. So we won't be seeing those immediately.
She's right, though, Paul. The ultimate goal and the original design was for those data discrepancies to run all year round. It's just that they have not seen that screen yet. It hasn't been introduced to production and it still needs some more work. So TBD, Kim, not just yet. It'll be sometime in fall where you'll start to see them on your Fall 1 certification reports, and then probably sometime after that, before that new screen opens up where it's year-round data discrepancies available.
Perfect, thank you. I had misread that in my own way. So apologize, Kim. Moving on to Ren at 308. Alex, your hair looks great. Have to agree. Looks
Thank
great.
you. Appreciate that.
Ed at 309. Comment. Consider adding summative state testing window as a line on the calendar, 2/1/23 through 6/30/23, as a reminder that it's not really a gap in processing for CALPADS folks. Sometimes folks think that it's downtime for CALPADS teams, but it's not. That's actually a very good recommendation. Nancy at 310, Q1, are the developers going to be working on improving the time it takes CALPADS to issue revisions by fall 1, or is this the permanent design? No, this is not the permanent design, and that has actually come up in several conversations that we've been having. So it is not acceptable for us to have to take this long to generate revisions, and so that will be being worked on. Q2, I see your Q2, Amy. Writing it down. Q1 for Blake at 311. Is the ISAC site down or am I on the wrong place? Let's find out. Selecting the link right now. And looks like it came up. So it might just be you. The link is in the top line of the, I'm sorry, it's in the the second paragraph, second line of Flash 238. So you should be able to select that link and it should take you right where you need to be. Okay, I'm guessing that's part of your Q2, so I'll come back to that, Amy. Geeta, 313 Q1. When I upload SINF for the current year, I get a SINF 59, which says invalid student age. In Aries, the student is inactive. Do I need to do anything? I guess I'd really need to look at that to be able to comment on the actual Oh, I'm sorry, there's more to it. In CALPADS, the student shows as exited from our district as well. So I guess I'm curious as to why you're uploading SINF data for an exited student. If they've re-enrolled, then there should be an active enrollment there, and then it should be pulling or comparing dates of birth. So I'm not sure exactly how to answer your question, Geeta. If you want to open up a service desk ticket, put my name on it, I'll be happy to look at it for you. Nancy, you're welcome. Maria Luisa, 314, FYI, I'm going through CCE anomalies and have noticed that no show enrollments are coming up as anomalies. That is a fix that went in or is going in tomorrow, correct, Angela?
Correct, yes.
Yes, so Maria Luisa, you should be able to, probably not tomorrow, you're not going to see it because the anomaly process runs overnight, I believe. So Wednesday morning, you should be able to see those and have a certain amount of confidence in them.
I believe, Paul, at least for mids has been my experience, but I believe they're running throughout the day now, anomalies. So the patch should go in sometime between noon and 1. Curious what you find, Maria Luisa. Hopefully by the afternoon, those reports look a little better for you. Definitely the reports, Paul. The reports have to run overnight, but if you're looking at the UI, my understanding is that they do get updated throughout the day.
Okay, I stand corrected. Thank you. Angela at 314 says, any ISAC related questions or issues should be directed to the ISAC at cde.ca.gov email account, and those are listed in the resources and assistance section at the bottom of Flash 238.
Yeah, CVE sent that to us today, that the service desk, CALPADS service desk is not supporting that tool, and so they want those questions directed directly to that email box.
And Geeta provided clarification, and no, they are not re-enrolled. Aries is pulling the data, I guess. So, okay, Geeta, if you run into problems, let us know on that SINF 59, and we'll see what we can do for you. But if it's an Aries problem, hopefully they can work through it with you. Carmen at 317, thank you for everything that you do. You guys got a shout out on the listserv. Yeah, it's we really appreciate those messages. They've kept us going through this trials and these times of trials and tribulations, and they They were always nice to see. So thank you for that. Ed 317 FYI ISAC folks are very responsive at that address. So that's good to know, Ed. Thank you. Susan at 317 Q1, I'm wondering about the SSID matching. Is there an error process I should be following to verify the students have been assigned the correct SSID? I guess I'm not comfortable commenting on the SSID matching tool at this point because I've not really dug into it, and I only have a surface level understanding of how everything is working at this point. So I'm going to defer to anybody else who has a comment.
Yeah, I've spent some time with those. Not sure I understand the question though. Is there an error process I should be following to verify that students have been assigned the correct SSID? So Susan, I think it kind of depends on which process you're using to find those students, right? I think we've got three potential methods, right? Looking them up individually. And that should be pretty quick to tell if they're your student or not, because you can check the parent name and the address and date or place of birth, that sort of thing. The second avenue is just to upload a blank SENR, an SENR file with a blank SSID in the traditional file submission method. CALPADS will automatically assign a brand new SSID, therefore creating a MID if there are any potential matches out there. So then you would use the MID resolution screen to do that kind of same comparison of, do they have the same parent, guardian, were they born in the same place, did the other LEA exit them, that sort of thing. And as we talked about earlier in the call, it's dangerous to merge a MID that isn't the right set of students. So be careful because it's hard to undo that process. And then the third avenue is fairly recently introduced a month ago, and it just got refined last week, where you can take that same SENR batch file that has a blank SSID and upload it to the student data SSID match tool area. And that will go through a quick validation process, and you'll be able to download a file that will give you, Brandy's going to have to correct me, I saw she joined, I think up to 20 records of the most alike students that match that student. Or it'll tell you none, we couldn't find it. Is it up to 20, Brandy?
Yeah, I think it's they provide up to 20 matches if there are that many available.
And then from there, you take that file. It's a little bit
yes, we hear you.
A little bit cumbersome to work with, but that file you can. I think all the vendors are up to date on that. Where you can, once you've made your selection of which SSID you want to select for that student, you can import that back into your SIS.
Okay. Thank you, Angela. And moving on to the 319 question from Angela Mata. Q1, are there any updates on loosening the K-12 age rule for TK students younger than 4 at the time of their enrollment start date? The current rule affects fatal errors, SENR 262 and SINF 59.
I think we were waiting for Paula to check on that, right, Brandy?
Yeah, and she did. And essentially, they said that it was LEAs could enroll those students even as early as 3, so they could start with their peers as long as they turned 4. The LEA needs to really understand, though, that they will not be able to collect ADA for that student for the entire year at that point, right? So if you're enrolling a 3-year-old student that turns 4 shortly after school starts, keep in mind, you can enroll them in TK, but you cannot claim ADA for them at all until they turn 5.
But we haven't changed the validation yet.
Right. And so I don't know when that will happen. So in the meantime, the workaround is to just create a preschool enrollment for them. And then when they turn 4, create the kindergarten enrollment.
Thank you, Brandy. Shauna, talking to Larnie, and I see your Q2, Susan. All right, we're at the bottom of the list, so I'm going to head back up to the top. And the first 3 questions were for you, Brandy, so we deferred them off. So I don't know if you can see them in your chat box, so I'll just read them to you.
Thank you.
Yep. Denise, 302, Q1. To resolve CALSAAS exemptions, what should the correct state course code be for Science 6 and Math 6? which are taught to the same cohort of students. In the past, we mapped it to the course code 1000, which triggered exceptions on those teachers who have middle school science and math credentials.
So I believe there is a K8 math course code that you should use. And then for science, it's actually split into 2 groups, I believe. I don't have the course codes in front of me explicitly, but if you want to just go ahead and submit a service ticket, put my name on it, and they'll send it directly to me and I can look it up in the course codes. But I believe science was split out into 2 sort of different grade ranges. But I don't have the course codes memorized, unfortunately.
What? All those hundreds of numbers and descriptions aren't just hardwired
No.
into your head right now?
Thank God.
All right, next one from Mary Masters, 302 Q1. Our high school district does not have a separate school for independent study. We have an independent study program within each school. For the PEBT collection, which CALPADS fields are being used to get the list of students in our independent study program and therefore were not on campus to receive meals? And what about students that were part of the year on campus and part of the year in independent study? Our high school district does not have a separate school for independent study. We have an independent study program within each school.
So first of all, you're doing it the way I think CDE prefers that districts administer independent study, which is developing programs within each school, which is fine. So if you have students that are completely and totally independent study, and those students are enrolled at National School Lunch Program participating schools, all of their STAS data would be reported in the non-ADA generating and the ADA generating independent study days columns, because that's how their ADA is claimed, right, through independent study. And if they met the free and reduced price meal criteria, or they're enrolled in a provision, if that happens to be a provision school, then they would be allocated PEBT benefits. What was the other part of the question? What was the second part of the question, Paul?
Which CALPADS fields are being used to get the list of students in our independent study program?
Yeah, so it's those 2 fields in the STAS. They have to have either ADA generating or non-ADA generating days populated in the STAS. Additionally, if they have excused absences of 5 days, excused absences of 5 days or more within any given month, those are the fields that are being used. And if they're part-time, half the year they go in person and then they go out on independent study, it's the same thing. Remember, the STAS is a cumulative file, but for purposes of submitting it through the ISAC tool, it's cumulative for a particular month, right? So those months that they were participating in independent study or went out on COVID leave or have excused absences of 5 days or more within a given month, they'll generate PEBT.
Thank you, Brandy. Next one is Dan at 302 Q1. Hello, just wondering if there was an update or change on how often CALPADS to TOMS sync happens.
It happens every night. So, we send the file every night. It takes ETS about 24 to 48 hours to process those and create test registration records for those students.
Okie doke. And then we had also reserved Russ's question at 306, which is Q1. If our schools are on CEP, do we still need to upload data to ISAC? And we did not see anything in Flash 238 on that.
And the answer is yes, you do. Because here's why. Remember that the ISAC tool is collecting specific students within those CEP schools. Okay, so now it's not just any kid attending a CEP school, it's kids who are enrolled in a CEP school who also were on independent study or had excused absences. That's why you have to submit your data through ISAC, because that's what they're primarily looking at is kids who are enrolled in a school participating in a program, but who are enrolled virtually or had excused absences of 5 cumulative days or more within a given month.
Okay, thank you for that. Amy, 310 Q2, what SEID number should we use for a vacancy that is filled by a SEID who is not an employee, contracted substitute, and possibly does not have correct credentials?
So if they have a SEID, use that SEID. Vacancies are always misassignments anyway. So, but use the SEID of the substitute, whether or not they have current credentials, because it's a vacancy, it'll end up as a misassignment anyway.
Larnie, Q2 at 314. We certified our end of year 1 without being able to verify the supporting reports. I finally was able to pull the 3.15 and 3.16 today. I tried to pull the 3.10 today and it still spins to the end of the world just like last Friday. Am I supposed to have pulled it in a different report or pulled it somewhere else? No, you should still be able to
The
access
place
the,
you can get the 310. It's not a supporting extract like some of the other big ones are. So you're doing all the right things, Larnie. All right, Angela, were you paying? Are you with us still? Because she's got some bugs still to be logged on EOI. And I don't
and
know
if
if
you're
one of
talking,
these
Angela,
fall into.
you're muted.
Yeah,
you are.
sorry. There, Gary and I have one in our queue. We have to thumb wrestle about who's going to log it. It's different than what Larnie's saying, though. It's a 3.10 is not counting. 3.10, not counting some courses correctly. In terms of getting it to run, maybe try a subset of schools, Larnie. Don't do the whole district. Try a smaller set. See if that works for you.
All right. Susan at 320 Q2, how quickly does the mid process have to be completed? So the resolution of mids is how I'm reading that, not how often are they generated. So you want to resolve the mids as soon as they appear, basically. And I know that that's been problematic recently because the mids were not updating and then we couldn't locate. No, it was just the whole thing. But you want to get them taken care of as quickly as possible because those will sneak up on you and cause some problems. But again, we do have, well, I guess most of them are in fix implemented now, but we do still have, I think, 1 or 2 issues out there. And all right, Stephanie, 323 Q1. I'm super late with getting SSIDs and feel like I'm in a loop of download, upload, match. So I'm doing the online maintenance to create new SSIDs, but not sure how to then get the SSIDs into Aries from CALPADS. Do I still download the SSID extract and import it into Aries like we used to?
Yes, that's one way to do it. You can download that extract. It's not as elegant as it used to be. You get more students that you'd like, but at least your new students will be in there and you can import them.
Okay. Angela, 326 Q1 follow-up. Is there an ETA of when age-related validations will be adjusted for the SENR 262 and SINF 59?
I don't think it's being worked on right now, but I will bring it up so we can make it a higher priority. But right now it's TBD. I do not know.
Okie doke. Rebecca, 327 Q1. I just tried to upload my August 2021 ISAC file, and it was rejected because I have multiple entries for the same SSID. But these are legitimate entries because we have kids going back and forth all over the district all of the time. Brandy, you got anything on that one?
Was that, so you can't have multiple entries for the same SSID. You can only have one entry per student per school. And that's actually the validation that would be used in CALPADS. So you should only have.
You're fading out on us,
And
Brandy.
they also, oh, can you hear me?
Now I can hear you, but you faded out as you started your sentence.
Oh, okay. I was just going to say, you should only have one line. So that line per student, that row per student should represent all of the independent study and in-person attendance the student had within that given month. So don't separate them out with in-person and independent study attendance. It should only be one line. So you need to combine them. I'm not sure why your SIS is pulling two lines for that.
So if they transferred from one school to another within the same LEA in the same month, you would combine the data rows instead of reporting two separate data rows.
No, by school, it should be fine. If
okay.
But not within the same school. So is it at two different schools?
It's from the description where it reads, but these are legitimate entries because we have kids going back and forth all the time, all over the district, all of the time. So it sounds like it's inter-district or inter-LEA transfers amongst schools.
Yeah, and it's just send that question to the ISAC email address. It's ISAC@cde.ca.gov. They'll probably forward it to me and I can verify it. It should be allowing you to submit attendance for a student at each school they attended.
Perfect. Thank you for that clarification. Amy, 332 Q3, following up to Q2. If the long-term sub is hired as a temp math teacher with the right credentials for a SEID who left before census day for maternity leave, what SEID to use for reporting SDEM and staff assignment sections, CRSE, SCSE?
Teacher of record. Yeah. So that you should report the teacher of record. So if the teacher of record is on maternity leave, and you've got a sub in there, you're still.
Randy, I think you faded out on us again.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to say you always report the teacher of record. So if she's out on maternity leave, it doesn't matter. If she's still the teacher of record, that's the teacher that you would report. Could you hear me?
We did. Thank you for that.
Okay.
Kevin, 333. For the mid screen, when I click on possible mids, the contact information is mine. Shouldn't that be the other districts?
It should, and I went looking, Kevron, and you have done a good job keeping up on your mids, so I couldn't find any unresolved to verify what you were saying. So maybe next time you encounter that, before you mark it as not a mid or merge it, put in a ticket so we can take a look.
Perfect. 333, Sean, are there plans to remove the CSV file extension from the SSID Match Tool output?
No.
One word answers. Those are easy. Rebecca, 335. Even if it's a different. Oh, yes, there we go. We just discussed that. So, okay. And at 335, Angela posted the ISAC contact information, and Rebecca says, "Okay, thanks." And Kevin says, "Oh, I have loads of unresolved."
Oh,
so
I
we'll
couldn't
probably
find
be hearing
any.
from Kevin.
Yeah, they were either rejected or verified. So. Yeah, let us know what you see.
Karen at 338, I also see my contact information on the mid screen, but only when my SSIDs were exited and the new LEA has a current enrollment.
I do not believe that's the intended behavior.
Well, this is something that hasn't happened in in recent history. It's 3:38 and we're at the bottom of the list and nobody's angry at us right now.
And just to Kevin, just to follow back up, I was filtering on reporting LEA. I tend to do that. In fact, Brandy, I'm probably going to submit a change request for that, that when you're on the mid-resolution screen, it should default to the focus SSID ownership to the reporting LEA. If it doesn't, there's mids on there that they can't act on, and it's kind of confusing. So now that I can take a deep breath and get out of EOI, I think I'm going to focus on SSIDs and mids.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. So if we have no more questions, we're going to turn it over to Kai so he can freestyle for us. And Natasha says, hurrah for surviving end of year. I agree. It's been a rough couple of months. And again, I salute you all. You've been troopers through this.
So I don't have my cricket sound, so I think
you know, I'd love to give you guys 20 minutes back today if you'd want it, but we're getting some more back in here.
There we go.
Martha was a rock star this weekend. I agree with that. She and Angela and a good portion of the service desk were working all weekend. So
It was a team. We didn't do it by ourselves. There's people behind the people.
And Wendy says, Kai can't freestyle unless he has a disco shirt on.
Oh yeah.
Correction, casino shirt. Wendy.
There you go.
Alex at 3:39. Can I impersonate Alex Manriquez when she's off on Thursday and Friday?
Yeah, that'd be fun. I'll watch the recording.
There you go.
Shelley 340. Thank you again. Thank you all again we really appreciate your help. And actually, we have a couple more questions here, it looks like. Charlene, Q1, I agree with Kevin. These are mids that moved out of our district. We don't have a post option because they are no longer with us, but they still have our contact info.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, Charlene, that I don't like that it defaults to show you those that you can't act on. And so I'm personally in the habit of automatically changing the focus SSID ownership filter on that screen to reporting LEA. Then it only will show you those that you can take action on, which really are the ones that should be, requiring your attention. I think it looks like Alex is going there. The filter,
Then you're saying filter
this
which one?
Yeah, that one to reporting LEA. And that I think is the change request I'm going to suggest, is just to make that default to the reporting LEA, because otherwise you get a whole bunch of mids that you can't do anything with, and it's just kind of frustrating as an end user that you can open it, and now it sounds like they're also showing the wrong anomaly contact, but you also can't act on it either. So until then, I just recommend folks get in the habit of selecting that reporting LEA and then apply filters.
Okay. 340, Blake says, I missed the beginning of the meeting. What % of districts were certified? And I know that it's in the high 90s, but I don't have an exact number. Martha, do you have a better estimate? Or Angela?
I didn't hear the question, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you have the number, the % of districts that certified end of year?
Oh, I don't. Probably like 99 point something, maybe 98 point something, but I think it's closer to 99 point something because we have almost 2,000 LEAs. So, 1% is what, 10?
200.
No, that's 10%.
No, 20.
20, thank you. So it's high. It was, people worked really hard this weekend, finish it up.
Anne at 341, I don't see an invite from ISAC. How can I get access, get an access code for ISAC? I would probably recommend emailing them directly and explaining that. Oh, wait a minute, there it is. Recover your access code feature on the ISAC reporting system login page. So from the login page, there's the little blue URL below the login, and if you hit recover your access code, it'll prompt you for your email, and it will email you the access code. Thank you, Alex. I had missed that. Mary Masters, 341 Q2, comment on PEBT uploading for CEP schools. If we did not upload monthly stats, it sounded like the PEBT people will still have our original stats data for independent study, non-ADA and ADA columns, as Brandy described earlier, and we'll use this. Is this not true?
No, I don't think that that's true. They're allocating benefits. I don't know who told you that. So if you're a CEP school, you need to submit your data through the ISAC, because it's by student, by month, on based on whether or not they're an independent study or they have cumulative excused absences more than 5 days a month. So you have to do it. Otherwise, it will be a PR nightmare for you if you don't. Your parents will be very upset if they don't get those benefit cards. So I'm not sure exactly who said otherwise, but if you have some more information, go ahead and email me and let me know.
Okay. Terry at 341, thank you all for your help. My brain is completely fried. Not much time to catch a breath before CBEDS fall 1 and 2. Agreed. Larnie is sending Angela a message saying it's not even giving me the opportunity to select a school. When I choose the 3.10 from the certification detail, it changes the report but spins forever without displaying anything. That is a problem.
I can't think of what would cause that. Can you guys think of anything?
No, but
Nope.
310 has given us grief, I think, a few times, this EOI. So we'll just have to get it written up, Larnie. So we need a service ticket for that.
Shelley at 343, sorry if this has already been answered. Will the resolved mids eventually be hidden by default? I believe we had an open bug on that, didn't we?
Yeah, there's been a few on that. There's a mismatch of on the grid. It says disposition, but the filter says status. So there's a few things outstanding. It's a really good point, Shelley. I think when I log the change request to default to reporting LEA on the focus SSID, I think I'll probably include the status of ready as a default as well. So you would have to toggle out of that to get to any of the others. Makes more sense just to see what you have actively to be worked on.
Thank you, Angela. Ray, 343. On mids, are we supposed to only focus on the ones that say ready?
Yeah, the others either mean you tagged it as a non-mid, so it's a known non-anomaly. Say that 3 times. Or you merge them. So ready means that you've done nothing, and so those records are ready for you to act on.
All right. Kim at 345, thanks for being there for us. You are all superheroes. Can you tell that I have a little grandson? Dan at 345, Q2. I know this may be hard to answer right now, but I was curious to know if it's expected to get back to multiple and frequent snapshots when Fall 1 certification opens, or are we thinking every 24 to 48 hours? Is that what it will be again? That was a big reason for my SpongeBob panic breathing this previous end of year. That's a very descriptive statement for those of us who had children in the SpongeBob era. It is acknowledged as a problem, and we are working on it. There's no open known issue on it or anything else, but it is in constant discussion, and it does need to be addressed. Ray, 346, Q2, for CBEDS Day, is there anything we should focus on other than making sure our enrollments are up to date?
Your program records,
yeah,
National School Lunch.
Yeah, you want to make sure to keep your enrollments up to date. the program records up to date, the SINF records up to date, the SELA records, if they need to be tested, make sure that TBD is in long before census day, so that way and that enrollment's posted, so that way they get tested, so you have something there other than the TBD. If your SPED department, make sure that they're on the hook, knowing that as soon as that SENR data goes in, you're going to want to see SPED data being posted. You know, it's a lot of just the usual culprits here.
I have one more to add. If you had students that were reclassed over the summer or at the beginning, you want to be sure that you get those statuses updated so that come census day, they're identified properly.
And remember, if that date is outside of your enrollment window, they won't show up on your it used to be the 212, what is it now? The RFEP accounting at the end of year. If it happened prior to your enrollment and the date shows prior to your enrollment, you're not going to get the count for it. Shelley's thanking us. Claudia, 347 Q1. What can we expect for fall 1 and 2 regarding system performance? Angela, Martha?
I wish I had a crystal ball. I don't know. I mean, we know it needs to improve. We're also working on getting the certification data discrepancy validations going. So resources are spread thin. So I don't know, but we know it's needed to be looked at. You know, one thing I think with fall 1 though, that's the only submission running, whereas in EOI we had 4 of them running. I don't know if that's going to matter because we have a whole bunch of SPED validations that run though too. So I can't tell you.
But it is in discussions and being addressed. And
yes, thank you, Paul.
Yes. Ray, 347, I see rejected on some, and I'm assuming this is MIDS.
MIDS,
And
yeah, it's a problem number 6054 on the known issues. So just kind of a leftover from initial launch back in April. It was doing strange things.
All right, Kevin, 348, thanks for all the help getting end of year over the finish line. It was, again, a team effort. It couldn't have been done without you guys putting in the time as well. So appreciate that. Lori, 349 Q1, is that date correct on the fall 1 calendar under the primary data submitted column? It says 21-22 census day. Oh, look, a typo.
Yeah.
No, that should say 20. Brandy, you still here?
Yeah, I'm here. I'll tell Wendy.
Thank you. All right, Kyron's addressing that. Kim Gavin, Q2 351 for fall 1. In prior years, only LEA approval was required for the December deadline. Is that the same this year?
Probably.
Probably, yes. I can't imagine we're going to insist on SELPA approval for the initial deadline. Ed, 351 Q1, I see a few MIDs recurring because LEAs send blank SENR and get the old SSID, now retired, added back.
Yeah, I've talked about that here a couple times, and Brandy should document it somewhere so that everybody knows, although it's kind of up in the air if it's going to change or not. But right now, anyway, the way that new CALPADS was designed, that if you send up a blank SSID in your SENR file, if there has ever been an association of that local ID and your reporting LEA ever associated to an SSID, they are forever entwined. So you could be sending up all different demographic information, but as long as that local ID is the same, it's going to keep reissuing that same SSID over and over again. So what you need to do, at least for now, is to make sure that that local ID is unique to your LEA, that it's not been one that's been used before, and that will allow CALPADS to issue you a brand new SSID.
And I think the workaround we've been using is just to add an X either in front of or behind the ID, and then that makes it distinct because generally you're not going to have an X or a letter in a numeric field like that. And that allows you to go through it and then you can go back and change it.
Hey, Paul, I have an update for Larney. I just ran the 3.10 for Oxnard Union High, and it took about, I kept every school in there, and it finally came up, but it took about 8 or 9 minutes, maybe even 10 minutes. since it came up. There's 230 pages of that report. So then I selected just two of your schools, and it came up within 2 minutes. So it's working for me, and I know you had a different issue where it wasn't even getting to the page, but I think if you try lowering the schools, if you can get to the page, it should work for you. But it's a big report if you have every one of your schools.
Thank you, Gary. I appreciate that. Charlene, 352, Q2, I'm trying to clean up my SINF records. Because the enrollment start date is now a primary key, we have quite a few SINF records that do not have the matching SENR records. Will this cause any problems down the line?
Yes, that's a headache. You want your SINF effective start date to be in alignment with your enrollment start date. So some of the things, Charlene, you might see happening is a mid will not get detected. So if for some reason another student gets an SSID that should have been the same student, it won't get detected as a mid, and you won't be able to resolve it. And the other place you might see that is during submission windows. We see those a lot of times show up as Cert 4s because there isn't necessarily an overlapping SINF record with the ethnicity, race and ethnicity data for that enrollment record. That can cause a Cert 4 error and kind of a headache to fix. You got to kind of tinker with your enrollment start date or your effective start date in your SINF.
Alrighty. Mary Masters, 352, Brandy. I got my question about PEBT using last year's stats from 8/29/22 Q&A. Paula Mishima said at 15:05, and I don't see the rest of the message, but looking back up at Mary's initial question, I'll find it again.
It had to do with if CEP schools don't submit,
Yes.
are we going to be able to get their data? And I don't think that that's true. Yeah, you can, Mary, just follow up with me, please, because I'm going to re-ask Paula because I don't think that's true.
Perfect. Thank you, Brandy. Anne at 352, how do we submit a month-by-month stats for ISAC? Well, as Flash 238 says, there are training videos at the bottom to help you get through that. So yeah, right there on the bottom of page 2, it'll take you to the YouTube page showing upload data, ISAC reporting system training. So they've got you covered on that. And Gita, again at 353, if I had a mid, the enrollment history in Aries shows a different school than the other mid. Should I keep them separate? All the information on the mid screen, all other information on the mid screen matches.
That's kind of a local call, right?
Is it worth, Brandy, reaching out to the other LEA and just
I mean,
verifying, just compare your notes?
Okay. Kyron, 354, recycling is good for the environment, not for CALPADS. Don't recycle those old local record IDs. Thank you, Kyron. Rebecca, 356, thanks guys very much for all of your assistance. Have a good night. Have a good night, Rebecca. Mary, 357, okay, just don't want LEAs to miss out. I will send what I heard. Thanks, Brandy. Brian, thanks everyone. Really appreciate the hard work you are doing to make CALPADS better. Thank you, Brian. Nancy Baum, forgive me if this was asked. I had to leave for a few minutes. When will bridge trainings be coming out?
Bridge trainings, which means fall 1 live sessions. So we're going to have a late start. Normally we would be right now, but because of EOI has taken us a bit longer to close out. So maybe first part of October. I'd like to say the last week of September, but I don't know. The fall 1 this year isn't all that different from last year, and we're not adding new functionality, well, other than the CDDs, but you've kind of experienced that with end of year. But as far as adding, new files or data collections, so it's minimal amount of change. And so we start first with our advanced, and so it's probably going to be the beginning of October when that comes out. But if you want to understand what fall 1, the data population, what do we collect in fall 1, you can look at the recordings that are on YouTube right now, because what's there is pretty much what you have to do for this upcoming fall.
And Ed at 359 writes, CALPADS should never assign a retired SSID to a new SENR, at least in my opinion.
And I don't believe it does. I think I kind of said that in a confusing way earlier, so apologize for that, Ed. There's different flavors of MIDS, and so if a student was inadvertently merged, let's say, so they actually were 2 different SSIDs, and it got merged, well, now that the orphaned student that needs a new SSID is tied to that other SSID. And so it's going to keep reissuing the kept SSID over and over again. Still sounds very confusing to say it out loud. So I guess another way to say it is, if you find that a retired SSID got issued, let me know. That that's not good. And I don't believe that's happening, but if you find it, let us know. But there are times where you just get stuck in a loop because your student is tied to the wrong SSID. You know, you and the other LEA have already verified that that's not the right SSID for that student. They need a new one. But because of that local ID matching business, it just keeps reissuing the existing SSID.
Perfect. And we have just crossed the 4 o'clock boundary. So I'm going to let you all go. I appreciate you being here. Thank you all for everything you've done over the last 6 months with us. It's been a ride, and it's over now, and now we get to start a whole new ride. Fall 1. Looking forward to it to work with you on this, and have a great week.